Okay, I think the first one I'm going to do here, I'm going to review this Mechforce Delta Core. It's a big heavy one, probably because I can't wait to test it and see how it does. I think I'll try it out with the extra buttons too. I won't test it that way. I'll just check it out and see how it goes. But this is going to be the first one I test, so we're going to do the testing real quick. Okay, I finally got done testing this Mechforce Delta Core spinner. This really cool triangular spinner, which is really heavy. I had to go through a lot of stuff to get this thing tested, and I'll go through that all with you. But first off, just notice the shape of it. It's a nice triangular shape. It's got these little knurls on the side, so you can put your finger in it and spin it. It's not terribly hard to spin, not the easiest thing in the world either, but to pull it, it's very good. So I went to test this thing, and the first thing I noticed before I even tested it was they give you 2 extra bearings. These right here, these all ceramic zirconium bearings. And so I went and tested this thing. I spun it 6 times, and I was expecting a really long spin time. Ended up being a little bit disappointed. When you spin it horizontally like this, it was getting 6.5 minutes to 7-minute spin times, which for most spinners that would be fantastic. But for something this heavy, and by the way, it weighs 184 grams, so it's not outrageously heavy, but it's pretty heavy. When I spun it vertically like this, it got a little over 11 minutes to 12-minute spin times. So it got an average spin time of 8 minutes and 23 seconds, but there was a lot of variability in there. And if you've seen some of my other videos, you know variability, in the spin time from horizontal to vertical cuts the score quite a bit. So it got cut down to an overall score of 7.2, which is really good. It's actually, it's very good, but it's I would have expected a little bit more, so I was a little bit disappointed with the bearing in it. I didn't really like it too much. I gave it an appearance score of 9, a feel score of 8, because it feels pretty good, and the appearance is nice. It looks like a big piece of military machinery. And the perceived quality, I gave it a 9. I mean, it's a nice solid chunk of stainless steel. Now, when I got done testing this thing, I took the caps off, and I found out, to my dismay, that it did not have one of those zirconium bearings in it. It had a stainless steel bearing, like the one I've got in here right now, but not this one. So I kind of thought, to be fair to it, I had to test it with one of these zirconium bearings to see how well it did with that bearing. And then you run into this other issue. How do you get this bearing out of here? I know you're not going to be able to see this on camera, but there's a tiny little ring of spring steel that snaps into the spot and holds the bearing in place. And it's a real pain in the ass to get out. You have to get a really sharp object and kind of pry it out all the way around until it pops out. I used an X-Acto knife, which didn't feel very safe, but that's what I used. And I got it out, and I put one of these zirconium bearings in it to test it again. Then you had to put the little ring of spring steel back on it, and getting it back in is almost as much of a pain in the butt as getting it out. So I don't know why they use that retention system, but it's not friendly at all, and it takes a while to do. But I put the zirconium bearing in the spinner and tested it again for 6 more trials. And With the zirconium bearing, I can't get over how huge these buttons are. They're just massive. With the zirconium bearing, it did a little different. Horizontally, we got, 7.5 roughly minutes spin time, which was about a minute more than with the other bearing. Horizontally, it didn't go quite as long as with the other one. It only got 9 to 10.5 minutes spin time going that way. But the average spin duration with both bearings, with the stainless steel one that came in the thing and with the zirconium bearing, there was only, the average spin duration with the stainless steel one was 8 minutes and 23 seconds. The average spin time with the zirconium bearing was 8 minutes and 25 seconds, almost identical. So they got almost identical scores, but because the zirconium bearing varied a lot less, there was a lot less variability from spin times, whether it was held vertically or horizontally, it got a higher score of 8.25 as opposed to 7.2. So it came out a lot better with the zirconium bearing, and luckily they gave you 2 of these. I'd say the zirconium bearing is a better bearing than the one that came in it. But since I've been doing this lately, I've got this bunch of Spin Me bearings from Naus that are just fantastic stainless steel bearings that are very good for long times. And if you watch my videos, you know that I like long spin durations, and that's the way I like it. So I decided to put one of those Spin Me bearings by Naus in this and see how it did. And I put that in there, and that's what's in there right now. And I tested it all over again. So I ended up spinning this thing, this long spinning spinner. I spun it 18 times in order to get all the data I got, which took forever. And with the Spin Me bearing, which is the same bearing that's in the Spin Me Copper and Spin Me Gold, horizontally it got a spin time of 12 minutes to 12.5 minutes. Vertically, about 11 minutes and 20 seconds to 11 minutes and 54 seconds. So a little bit less horizontally than vertically, but still not very much less. The average variability was only 23 seconds, which was much less than with the other 2 bearings. So it got much longer spin time, an average spin time of 12 minutes and 12 seconds with the Spin Me bearing in it, which is the same one I stuck in the medieval spinners, try Nuke and Nuke, because to make them spin longer, I put it in this one also. So we got an average spin time of 12 minutes and 12 seconds, and it got an overall score of 8 minutes and an overall score of 8.9, which is superior to almost excellent. And with this bearing, you can sit there and spin it like just, you can spin the button and it'll spin for quite a while. So basically, I like the spinner. It's really cool, but I like it better with the better bearing. I think the bearing from Spin Me is better than the ones they give you that come with it. Now, I've heard some people saying, or on the internet, this is probably the heaviest spinner ever. It's not. I have this other one from back a while back on one of my earlier videos. This is the Dubel brass hammer, and the Dubel brass hammer weighs more than the Delta Core. This guy weighs 200 grams and this guy weighs 184 grams, so this one's a little bit heavier. So which one's better? You got 2 very heavy spinners. This one got incredibly long spin times. I can't remember exactly how long it was, but I think it averaged about 11 minutes. This is not bad to play with. It's good for working out your fingers, and it's a little bit uncomfortable. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world. It's probably not the kind of thing you'd carry around with every day, and a lot of people are going to find this thing to be way too heavy. A lot of people are going to find this one to be way too heavy also. And this one weighs a little bit less, but I do have to say this one is a lot easier to spin. It's a lot more fun to play with than the Dubel brass hammer. So this one kind of wins the long spinning very heavy spinners contest between these two. This is the one I want to compare with it. I lost my link to this spinner, so I don't know how much I paid for it, but I looked on their website and they're available for $149.95. And they have an aluminum version, which is a lot cheaper, which I'm thinking about getting to see how well it does. But I haven't had a lot of luck with aluminum spinners, so I'm not sure. This one is stainless steel. It does come with these extra buttons. You know, they're kind of rubberized buttons. Didn't play with them too much, but they have a separate case for each button. But this one I say is a winner. I mean, it's a really unique spinner, and if you like heavy long spinning spinners, this is the way to go. It's really nice. And I'm trying right now to find a way to get those Spin Me bearings, because I lost my link to them, or they closed it down, and I'm trying to find another way to get a hold of those things. Once I get a hold of them, I'll let you know how to get a hold of them. But this one, with the Spin Me bearing in it, got a score of 8.9. It's a superior score to almost excellent. And I would recommend this, but if you don't like heavy spinners, don't even go near this one. If you like something heavy that you want to play around with, that's the one to go for. All right, and that's the end of that one. We'll see you later.